Just a few days ago, I ranked the 1-star gems inside of Diablo Immortal, letting you know what 5 of the best ones that you could focus on for your builds if you were looking for 1-star gems. This is oftentimes free-to-play players or people that are low spenders inside of the game. Today, I wanted to do a similar focus, but look at 2-star gems that are also very good for those free-to-play players or mid-spenders inside of Diablo Immortal. I will also say there are quite a few gems on the list I'm sharing here with you guys today that even bigger whale players will use because they have good utility and, of course, the ease of upgrade here for the 2-star gems. Now, a 2-star gem is about 7 times more difficult to upgrade than a 1-star gem, but nowhere near as difficult as a 5-star gem, making it very attainable to get to max level 10, rank 10, for a 2-star. So let's dive into the list, and I urge all of you guys to subscribe to the channel if you love Diablo Immortal, and check out my website, echogaming.io, where we break down all of these in blog form. So let's come on right over here, and first things first, I want to start out with power and command. Now this one's probably a bit controversial, and I'll also let you know that these are not in any particular order. These are a good handful of 2-star gems that can be good for your build. And this is very general, not being very niche, as I mentioned in the last video, not for like a necromancer summons build, because that would be a very niche use for a gem. These are more general, can be used with most classes. So power and command is kind of unique. It alternates states every 9 seconds. Power increases your primary attack damage by 8%. Command increases your skill damage by 8%. As you can see, as they get higher up, you also have other attributes that get buffed as well. Remember, we are looking at all of the gems today at rank 1 to keep everything nice and even. The good thing about the power and command gem is it increases your attack damage, your primary attack, and it increases your skill damage. The problem is it alternates back and forth every 9 seconds, and you have no control of that alternating. And basically, you need to look at the top of the screen and see what state you're in so that you can know where your buff is coming from. So it's very difficult to be strategic in how you utilize your attacks with power and command. But at the end of the day, if you're running around doing primary attacks and skill damage, you're going to be doing more damage because this is going to boost that in an alternating state. Power and command is one that a lot of maybe newer players will use, and sometimes you'll even see it up there with some players that have been playing for a while. It is not my favorite from the ones I'm sharing today, but it still is a nice, good damage dealer. We also have here the Volatility Shard, one of the newer ones inside of the game, meaning it didn't drop day 1. When you defeat an enemy, you trigger a volatile explosion, dealing 30% base damage, plus 365 to all nearby enemies. Now, this can only happen every 6 seconds. Something that I like about 2-star gems is oftentimes the cooldown on these is 6 seconds versus a 20 seconds or more that we sometimes see on 5-star gems. So this, every 6 seconds, you're going to have an explosion pop up after you kill something. It's going to deal 30% base damage and 365 to others as well. You're also going to get your damage increased by 2% for 2 seconds after an explosion at rank 3. So it's another one that's going to increase your damage. Now, I want to share with you a handful here that are maybe some of the best inside of the game. Pain Clasp. Currently in my build, even though I have majority 5-star gems, I think I'm rocking 2 or 3 2-star gems. Pain Clasp is one of them. Increases the damage dealt by 8% to offer to enemies suffering from a continuous damage effect. And then you also have unlocking at rank 3, when an enemy suffering from a continuous damage effect is within 10 yards, your movement speed is increased. So a nice little buff. So a continuous damage effect is a way that you're damaging that enemy over time, right? So for me, my barbarian, it burns enemies. That's a continuous damage, and it's going to increase that damage by 8% because of that burn that I'm inflicting on my enemies. Pain Clasp is one of the best 2-star gems inside of the game. It's an S tier 2-star gem, and one that you're going to find in a lot of people's builds. You could say that about the Mother's Lament as well. When you deal damage, you have a 20% chance of gaining maternal disdain, increasing your critical hit chance by 12% for 6 seconds. Now, this one is on a 20-second cooldown. And when Mysterio's disdain ends, you release a bloody spike toward nearby enemies, dealing 13.5% base damage to the enemies, to any enemies it hits, and also causes them to bleed, which is, again, bleeding is that that damage over time as well. So anytime you're seeing crit damage, critical hit chance, this is it's allowing more damage to happen. All right, Mother's Lament. It's probably another S tier 2-star gem that you really want to consider using, especially if you're focusing on 2 stars. It's one that you will want to use. And then we have the Viper's Bite. This is the poison gem. Some people will say that this gem is better than the 5-star version. If you're wondering what the 5-star version of it is, it's really not a 5-star version, but it's, where are we here? I think right here, the Seeping Bile. This is a 5-star poison gem. That's really hard to upgrade. It's a 5-star gem. Here, with the Viper's Bite, you have a much more capable way of upgrading this gem. Damaging enemies poisons them with Viper's Venom, causing them to take 16% base damage plus 120 damage every second for 6 seconds. This one also is on a 20-second cooldown. Viper's Venom reduces enemies' attack speed by 1.5%, which unlocks at level 3. This is another damage over time. I love this gem. It was one that I used in my build for a very, very long time until I started upgrading things to 5-star gems. You will find Pain Clasp, Viper's Bite, and Mother's Lament in many people's builds inside of the game. Can't recommend this one enough. Now, Mourneskull is interesting because this was a limited time event. It came with the whole Lich King event. It was around for about a month, and you could collect as many of these as you could within that time. The problem is now it's available to buy in the shop, but look at the prices on this thing. It's expensive. You can also craft this with Telluric Pearls. So let's see what the Mourneskull does. Dealing damage calls the spirit of the Lich King from within Mourneskull to drain the souls of nearby enemies, granting you royal dominion for 6 seconds, increasing all damage you deal by 7%, up to a maximum of 14% if at least 3 enemies were drained. Can occur more often than every 20 seconds. And at rank 3, while Royal Dominion is active, your attacks will also unleash 2 vile spirits at enemies nearby every second that explode on contact, dealing 3% base damage to all enemies near their target. A very powerful gem, one of the newer ones inside of the game that came from the World of Warcraft crossover, and one that you see a lot of people using. It's a little bit more difficult for this one because they don't drop for you in Elder Rifts, and they're very expensive to buy here. So you can craft them for 4, I believe it is, Telluric Pearls, if you want to not use Telluric Pearls for those 5-star gems. Now, there is another gem that I want to share with you guys here today. Let's go to the far away from it. We'll just come right over here and take a look. And that's going to be this one right here, which is the Fervent Fang. Fervent Fang is the login gem, whether you're logging in with the Battle Pass paid version, or if you're doing it just with the free version, you could unlock the Fervent Fang. Now keep in mind here, I have my Fervent Fang up to rank 10, so keep that in mind with the stats. Each time you deal damage to an enemy, that enemy now takes 2.4% increased damage from your attacks, up to a maximum increase of 24% at 10 stacks. Also, it increases all damage you deal to elite bosses and monsters by 6%. All right, this is a very well and often used gem inside of the game by many players. It's another one that, depending on the class, you could go ahead and consider this one an S tier 2-star gem. Being that you can only get this from the logins, right? Like you get it right over here. Let's see if we can get it showing right here. When you go to your Battle Pass, you'll have the options to choose a gem right here, right? You have choice. You can choose Fervent Fang, Grim Rhythm, or the Telluric Pearl. When I was upgrading my Fervent Fang, I would always choose the Fervent Fang gem. Actually, here it is. We can see the stats of it right now at rank 1. Each time you deal damage to an enemy, they take 0.8% increased damage from your attacks up to a maximum increase of 8%. So you see the difference? The maximum increase on mine at rank 10 was 24%. Here it's 8%. And it gets you the elite boss buff as well. My point of this was when you're trying to rank this up, you're going to get the Fervent Fang gems here, and you're not going to use them as gem power to upgrade other gems. These are difficult to come by. They take time. Once you get that done, I would recommend you take the Telluric Pearls, which is what I do. Does it actually show here the Mourneskull? No, it doesn't show it on here. So those are, what do we do? 6 or 7 gems that I would consider to be the best inside of the game. And as I mentioned, there are 2 gems that I'm wearing that are 2-star. One of them is the Pain Clasp, and one of them is the Fervent Fang. I was utilizing Viper's Bite until we put Roiling Consequence into my build. So I hope that gives you a little bit of guidance as to what gems are going to be the most valuable for you inside of Diablo Immortal if you're looking to do more damage. Now, of course, there are gems that are good for other purposes, right? There are some gems that you may find over here that are of 2-star that may be really good, like Bloody Reach. All right, this one is going to be good if you're very far away from your enemies. A Demon Hunter, a Necromancer. They have a lot of range. That'll do more damage. It's good in that specific guard. Cutthroat's Grin. No, that's not. I actually don't like Cutthroat's Grin because you have to attack from behind. There was another one that I liked that I wanted to share, and I'm... is it Unity Crystal? Let's see. Nope, that's when you're fighting with a party. Ah, it's right here, Follower's Burden. Something like this is good for a very class-specific build, like a Necromancer Summons build. You get more damage by the summons that you control. The more summons you have, the more damage you do. The problem with doing something with a gem like this, with the class change system, is if you go rank up your Follower's Burden to rank 10, and then you switch to a Barbarian, this gem is useless to you, and you need to basically use it as gem power, make it dormant, do one of those types of things. So I typically stay away from these. Even if I do go with a Necromancer, I would stick with the gems that I'm using, and I use the gems that I choose because they are pretty good and versatile no matter what class you're using. I could say Fervent Fang is probably not very good for the Necromancer, but in the most cases, they're gems I like on most classes. So when I class change, I can feel good about all of that. So now you have some guidance as to 2-star gems, which ones are worth your time and which ones you should probably just ignore. Hope you found this valuable. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.